You want me to drop an invite that's been unannounced?
I mean, that would be epic if you want to. Yeah, you don't have to. No pressure if it's gonna.
All right, I'll give you a name. All right.
All right.
It's been unannounced.
All right, welcome back to the ADCC Update Show. I'm your host, Trey Robinson. I got Corey here as usual, and then we got ADCC head organizer Mo Jassim. We just wrapped up the first South American trials. We're here in Belo Horizonte currently. Mo, I just want to kick it off with you, man. Overall, what'd you think of the event? How you feeling?
I thought it was pretty awesome. It was an awesome arena. I thought the performances were great, and I think it was exciting to see the upshot in skill across the board in Brazil. I saw much better wrestling. You saw people were savvy with the leg locks and some very, very tough performances. So I was very happy. We had more competitors than last time, and that's the point, just growing and growing and making things bigger and better.
Yeah, this was my first time at South American trials. I remember last year I was so jealous of the Flow guys who got to come down because there was so much going on. It was kind of like, honestly, it was very chaotic and all this, but it was just everything looked so fun. You could tell the people had like an insane passion. And I think that's like the main thing that I kind of took away from this. It's like, wow, dude, everyone there has so much passion. Like there's these young kids who are like 12 to 15 years old who like you can tell like they want this more than anything. You know, does that kind of fire you up, like kind of taking that in from the South American people?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying for the last 1 year plus that the trials I was on a personal and most excited for was the Brazil trials. I've never seen passion from athletes or spectators like in Brazil. I think it's pretty cool because they still have that like deep passion for their team. So like Gracie Baja, Alliance and whatnot, and they really root for each other. So I think that's pretty cool. It sort of brings it back, and it's just very exciting. We're in Brazil, so this is where the sport grew, and just happy to see that it's just grown.
What'd you think, Corey? You have any key takeaways, just overall, like general about the event?
Yeah, it is really cool kind of being in this event. Like in Belo Horizonte, this is Gracie Baja town, right? So when it was cool watching, like, you'd hear the crowd pop. And, some Gracie Baja guy, some Perguisa guy must be going off right now. And that takes over everywhere, right? When a Melky guy's on the mat, because there's 100 children kind of looking on, and you can hear them, you can see them. The vibe in Brazil is, no matter for what event, but I think especially for ADCC trials, it's just insane.
Yeah, then even the arena that this one was in, the Mineirinho, which is the little version of the Mineirão, which is that's something we don't have in the U.S. that I think is pretty sick. A word that distinguishes big arena and small arena, that's pretty epic. But like it was a beautiful arena, everything. It just like you felt the kind of level be elevated this year as usual. It seems like that's just like the constant state of ADCC, constantly growing and everything. But getting into like a little bit of the action, I wanted to talk to you first about Kennedy Maciel, because I just think he had like one of the most incredible performances. He looked so sharp, and obviously became the 66 kilogram champion, punched his ticket. Kind of one thing him and Cobrinha talked about when we interviewed him afterwards was how important it was for Kennedy to like earn his spot. He said like we could make a case, we could try and get the invite, but Kennedy wanted to come down here and earn his spot. Is that something you like whenever an athlete kind of wants to earn their spot?
Yeah, I mean, people forget Kennedy's a silver medalist. He's still, he got silver medal in 2019. I believe he went out second round last time. But when you have those credentials, there's a high chance for an invite. But he did it the right way. He came here, he won the trials in dominant fashion, and he was obviously very talented before. But when I saw him at AIGA, I was like, oh boy, this is a completely different grappler. Had sort of like a mean side to him. I've seen some of the like Roberto Jimenez sort of develop that later, and just. I mean, he took Garabeg down at AIGA, submitted him. He beat Gabriel Souza at AIGA, and he looked really dominant. To be honest, I'm not surprised at all that he won. I was interested to see how he would do against some of the leg lockers. He fought Kawhi Gabriel, who's very talented. He came out on top. So, I think Kennedy is going to be a big problem for people come August. His confidence is going to be through the roof, and he just looks like a completely different grappler. And he was amazing before. So, really awesome to see, and it's cool to see Hall of Famer, Cobrinha in his corner and rooting for him. So I thought it was awesome to see.
Yeah, that was great to see. How many submissions did he end up with, Corey? You have those stats?
In 5 matches, 3 submissions. All of his first 3 matches he submitted, and like you said, Mo, he definitely had a kind of a mean streak about him. Right when he was in Mount, he was dominating and crushing with pressure. He looked like a veteran. He really looked like he had been there, done that. He had the experience, had the target on his back, and like being there. And one thing he said to us after his win, he was talking a lot about how happy and confident he is.
We got Lena almost making
Yeah,
a.
sorry.
My-
Yeah. Come and grab the charger, honey.
No worries.
But you know what? I want to say something. It's interesting. If you think about it, generally speaking, 66 kilogram fighters don't have that kind of top game pressure. I mean, Tankino obviously did, but generally speaking, you don't really see that. And he was just smothering people with pressure. You could tell they were miserable under him. His passing looked great. He looked phenomenal all around.
Yeah, Kennedy had kind of that wet blanket effect, you know, whenever you can just see somebody, they kind of get that turtle shell, like you can just see them just like almost suffocating their opponent. But yeah, Kennedy looked great. He also just seemed like he's in a great mindset this whole time. You know, he feels like at least to me, it feels like he's having fun out there, but he's also like focused and kind of understands like I'm here for a reason and I'm here to accomplish that goal.
I agree. I mean, you can even see the confidence in him. Like when he was stepping on the mat, like you could tell he was a man on a mission. And I've been following Kennedy for a long time. I've never seen him like this, and I think he's going to be a serious contender come ADCC 2024.
And if you compare him against some of the other trials winners at 66, right? He's kind of an old man, right? 27 years old is in that division, not young, right? You have 16-year-old winners, 19-year-old winners. 24 is kind of the limit until you hit Kennedy, who's clearly a veteran. He's a two-time ADCC veteran, a silver medalist. But it's not easy, even in the route he had, to be that old in that division, right? Had a bunch of 15, 16, 17-year-old killers on the other side of the bracket.
In the finals, he had Kawhi Gabriel, who's a Melky Galval brown belt. And I met him a couple years ago training there, and like he is a really he's a cool, nice kid. They're all nice kids, but they're like the Melky Galval current group of kids he has coming up are kind of mind-boggling. They kind of live like sumo wrestlers in a way, where they're like they all stay there, they live in the gym. He has like the group of like orange-colored kids belts who live in Manaus, and then once they get to blue belt, they kind of graduate to now the Junjai location. So then they move here. So Kawhi's one of those kids who kind of came up through that. And he obviously had a great performance. He ended up beating his teammate Kalabi. Now, Kalabi is this kid who is a blue belt. I met him when he was an orange belt in Manaus, and he was like in charge of the warm-up. So we show up at the gym, and Melky doesn't run the warm-up or anything. This little kid, Kalabi, runs everything. Like he does the warm-up, he tells people what to do, all this, and then Melky comes, starts doing the technique. He also runs their dormitory where all the kids stay. They live here. They live in the gym. Basically, this like back bunk bed area. Like I can show you a video of it. It's pretty crazy. Like the situation. I think they've like renovated and stuff, but he was like in charge of the dormitory where the kids stayed from Monday through Friday. Then they go home on the weekend and live with their parents, and then come back and live in the gym Monday through Friday. And so he had an insane performance, and I think it's just incredible to see him knowing kind of like a little bit of this background of how these kids are coming up. But what did you think of Kalabi?
People, I've never heard of him before, and then everyone's like telling me you got to watch out for this kid. Because remember, I'm doing the youth championship as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, he's 15 years old. Like, what's he getting? And this kid's getting to the semifinals, and he was dominating people. I've never seen someone move that fast. His back takes, it was unbelievable. And back to what you were saying, the structure what Melky's doing sort of reminds me of like old school what Lloyd Irvin used to do, where he just creates this like iron sharpens iron environment, and people battle out, and that's all they do is just train all day, and it's working. I mean, I'm watching these kids, like some of these kids, I'm like, this kid even looks like 12, and they're crushing people. So the sport is changing. It's starting to shift from the veterans. I feel obviously some veterans always do well, but it's starting to, like, you're seeing 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. Kawhi, how old is he? 19, 20?
Yeah, couldn't be more than 20.
Yeah, exactly. And they're phenomenal. So, like, where are they going to be 3-4 years from now? So unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that.
I thought one of Kalabi's most impressive matches was against Felipe Machado in the was that the quarters, right?
The quarter, yeah.
Yeah, he had Felipe Machado, who obviously Felipe's been hot, like with Aiga and everything, incredible grappler, and eventually Kalabi almost took him down, forced him turtle, and had like a near back take, and then they scrambled, and he won basically off that in decision in overtime. But I mean, just for a kid that's 15, about to turn 16, blue belt, to come out and beat a black belt like Felipe Machado was incredible, honestly.
I mean, the other thing is it's not just their physical capabilities, it's the mentally.
Yeah.
Like, to be 15 years old and have that confidence to go against someone like Felipe Machado, who's a killer. Like, he was on my team.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Kawhi for Madofa and Aiga. We were doing training sessions, and I saw Felipe. He's not just a leg locker. He's just tough. He's exciting. And, Kalabi just went after him, and, he came out on top. And, maybe we'll see what happens next week. But very, very impressive. Like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even in Nogi in Brazil, has a very, very bright future. All these young talent grown.
Are some of these kids going to get an invite to the youth championship now? Mix things up a little bit?
I'll say it right now. If Kalabi doesn't win trials or doesn't get invited, his ass is going to that youth championship. And the funny thing is, I keep telling these American kids, a lot of them are dominating the U.S. Opens. Like, there's a ton of grapplers that no one knows about who are killers. And, I told them, don't get too cocky because I'm going to bring some of the best youth from Brazil to go and compete at this youth championship. And when I see talent like that, it's just mind-boggling. So just because you haven't heard from someone doesn't mean anything. Everyone has a breakout performance. So scary. The kid's scary.
Yeah, just that statement alone, just if he doesn't win trials, then I'll give him an invite to the U championship. That's so crazy that this is even a possibility. But who else kind of was standing out to you, Corey? You got anybody in particular you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Charles Negromonte. We're talking about the youngest in the tournament, but Charles was one of the older ones in the tournament, definitely the older winner. He won at 35 years old, and not an easy route to get there. He had to beat two ADCC veterans, two trials winners, Isaac Bayense in the, I think, quarterfinal, and then in the final, Gabriel Almeida.
Yeah, and Gabriel Almeida was having a heck of a run. So to put it into that was pretty impressive.
I mean, he looked phenomenal. I mean, Gabriel Almeida won trials in 2019. He's always been very good, but again, he just looked like a completely different grappler. That armbar he hit on Porfirio was unbelievable. But Charles was very interesting because I was speaking to him after. He's like, I've been trying to get into ADCC since 2017. I think he's 35 now? And, I think that's such an inspirational story. He didn't give up. He just kept pushing forward. And he was telling us, he's like, I gave up a lot of opportunities to open schools, etc. And he's like, this was my dream. And guess what? He got it done. And I thought that match was very interesting because I felt like Almeida was dominating, in the beginning of the match. But that's what makes ADCC so exciting. One mistake, especially when you're talking finals, semis, is the difference between winning and losing.
That's really the great thing about the overtime format too, right? Is especially in the finals, if you can't get it done, it's a brand new match, and now you can't pull guard, you can't play guard, you got to be really smart about what you do, and it's really just who wants it more. Charles he made it happen on the feet, he got to the back, and then really patient, made Gabriel desperate, and when Gabriel got desperate down 3-0, found the choke.
Yeah, I mean, what I noticed a lot yesterday as well was like you said, there's so much passion here, but you saw some athletes who would be dominating, and then they would start to slowly fade, and then the other opponent would come out on top. So I was talking to people about this. You got to be able to pace yourself because people are like, oh, it's 6 minutes, but 6 minutes in ADCC compared to any other rule set is a very big difference. It's very intense, it's very physical. There was a lot of first timers yesterday, and they were telling me the same thing. Like, we're not used to competing. They had a lot of fun, but they're like, it's very physical and grueling. So, yeah, I mean, that was the difference between people winning and losing yesterday.
Yeah, so another guy who mentioned that it was his first time competing ADCC rules so was Felipe Costa, who won. Like, I heard him afterwards. He came up to you and he's like, yeah, thanks, Mo. I had so much fun. Like, I love ADCC rules. This is my first time ever doing it. You're like, you bragging to me right now? This is your first time? You just became an ADCC trials champion? What'd you think of Felipe? Felipe trains with Victor Hugo in Austin, so it's like,
oh, does he?
He's been around a little bit, but he's a guy who's very IBJJF heavy and hasn't obviously competed ADCC, like he said. And it seemed like the ADCC rules just kind of clicked with him, and he got it done, and now he'll be there alongside Victor, representing Six Blades. But
I mean, people don't realize to go and win at trials, or do well in ADCC if you've never done it before, especially at trials, it's unbelievable. But he looked great. He's I really like him. He's charismatic. He's so excited to be going. And I told him, I told all the trials winners yesterday, trials are one thing, but you're going to be going up against people who've gone down this path, ADCC champions, medalists. So, and it's just exciting to me because we got some fresh new blood. And I've never heard of, Felipe Costa before. Now he's going to be competing at ADCC 2024. And let's see how he does. And he trains with Lobato, Victor Hugo, so he's got a great team, Shanji.
It's really cool from the team perspective, too, to see that at 2022, Lovato and Shanji retired and kind of dwindled the six-blade presence at ADCC. Well, Victor Hugo's still in the mix, but Victor Hugo now, Orly Laverne, Felipe Costa, so Six Blades is alive. They're booming and bringing back a brand new batch of competitors to ADCC.
Yeah, and you're right. Felipe Costa is just like such a nice kid and stuff. Like, he's always walking around smiling so big, like, so he is a guy that it is really cool. It's like, dang, there's a few different guys that it's like a few people won, and I was like, wow, this is insane. Like, he's going to be at ADCC World Championship. One of those guys for me was like Luis Paulo, a guy who's been around for a while. used to be on Melky's team. He came up like through that kids program and everything, and now he's at Alliance. But he was a guy who I was like, wow, dude, it's going to be insane seeing Luis Paulo walk out at the ADCC World Championship. So you got any thoughts on Luis or anything?
Again, I was watching a bunch of. He's exciting. I like his style. He's a killer on the mat and the perfect style for ADCC 24. So we got this, new talent, young blood, and it's gonna be fun. I get so excited to think about the brackets potentially and the matchups because that's what makes ADCC exciting. We're gonna have brand new matches, and it's my job as someone who helps do the brackets to make the most exciting matches that we normally don't get to see. So I promise you, it's going to be very exciting when I'm done with those brackets.
It's got to be getting harder and harder to make the ADCC Worlds brackets as like the base of talent is rising so high that like even 2022, for example, some of the trials winners, Mika Galval, Fabricio Andre, Diogo Hayes, a lot of those guys ended up medaling. But you knew coming in, Mika, despite the fact he's a trials winner and they generally are a lower seed, he's got to be a top 4 guy.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I believe he won trials with all submissions, and like most of them were before even points time. So, and that's 70. I mean, generally speaking, that's 77 divisions, just ridiculous. And I don't think this year is going to be any difference. But yeah, I mean, I usually have about an 80 to 90% prediction rate of who's going to win ADCC. I think I was like 10% last time.
Really?
So yeah, I bombed because traditionally speaking, the veterans do very well. Trials winners don't, younger athletes don't. And that changed, and you're starting to see it in the trials as well. So that's what makes it exciting. Baby Shark, Cade Rotolo is the youngest ADCC champion in the world now. So let's see what these veterans are going to do in August.
do you kind of think 2022 was like a changing of the guard moment? Like, because that's very much what it felt like. Like all these young guys came in, like you said, Cade, the new youngest ever, all submissions, Baby Shark, but guys like Shanji retiring, Lovato retiring. Did it feel kind of like that changing of the guard moment, 2022?
Yeah, I mean, I've been following ADCC for the last 24 years. I've never seen it like this. This is a massive shift, and to reinforce that, we saw at the trials, even the East Coast trials, Dorian Oliveras. Yeah. So, like, dude, that kid. So, yeah, I think now the younger generation, I mean, it just shows the progression of the sport, right? The techniques of no-gi have changed dramatically in the last few years. So, you got to stay current. The leg lock game, the wrestling, it's just changing and it's improving. So if you're not staying on top of that, you're going to be falling back behind, in my opinion.
Did you notice anything about the game or like, just the jiu-jitsu here at the South American trials that felt any different? Does it feel like, do they have a different style? Are they lacking anywhere? Are they better anywhere? Anything you noticed?
What I noticed last time I was here, I'd say the two areas I felt they were sort of lacking compared to maybe like the U.S. trials was the wrestling and the leg locks. And I think they've closed those gaps quite a bit. I saw a massive shift in the wrestling, to be honest. The 99 plus Jose Ignacio, I believe, that duck under he hit on Dr. Pajada was nasty.
Dr. Pajada, also a beast of a person, dude. While I was watching that match, I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, if this dude got on top of me, I would just have to live there forever. Like,
the craziest part when he pulled guard and he almost swept, I'm like, what the? I would not want that guy in my half guard ever. So, but no, the wrestling is gone up. The silver medalist Pontes, 77, he was phenomenal too. Luta Livre guy. So yeah, the wrestling and the leg locks. I saw a lot of leg locks yesterday, and not just offensively, defensively too. So that gap, I feel like it's closing. So let's see what happens in August.
What about you, Corey? You pick up on any trends or anything you noticed that stood out to you?
It really was a lot of the wrestling for me that impressed me. And you look at somebody like Luis Paulo. Now, if you follow Luis Paulo at all, you know that he's got a good judo game. But the way he was able to convert some of the stuff he does with the gi into no-gi takedown attempts, his wrestling, I think, was what kept him alive in some of those 77 matches where he was up against really dangerous opponents.
Gotcha. What about, is there anybody else we're missing that had kind of impressive performance? I know we talked a little bit about like non-winners. We talked about Gabriel Almeida, but he really did just have such a good run. He was all submissions up to the final. He looked so sharp. He looked like physically he looked good too at 88. Like looked strong, looked like he was ready to go. I feel like Majid's always one of my favorite guys to watch. I thought Majid had a great run. One thing I like about watching Majid is because he is just so chill. He's just out there having fun. Majid, like I was talking to him afterwards, it's like when he goes out there for a match, it's as if he's just like the old grizzled vet in the gym who's just like, these young bucks, I'll let you set the pace and we'll play whatever game you want, and then he does a little wizardry and all of a sudden Majid's winning. But
and then the armbar he hit, he's so dangerous because he baits you. He has his style where he'll like let you come into his guard, and then all of a sudden he's doing some crazy stuff. But he trains with what's it called, Jeff Glover, all the time, And, I've been around the sport a long time, and people forget how good Jeff Glover, especially on a technical level. So Majid is someone I've seen his skill level skyrocket. I think, I was speaking to him after, I think he just needs to adapt his style a little bit, because sort of the same advice I was giving like Ethan, when you're talking the earlier rounds, you can do this stuff. But when you start to get to the quarters and semis and you're going against these really tough big names, you sort of have to shift to more tactical game as well. So I think once Majid puts that into his game, but he's exciting. He's a submission hunter, but he's going to have to consolidate that to where if he gets a scoring opportunity, he can go and take that. But he's a showman for sure.
Yeah, because he also ended up losing off of a negative, which is always kind of like a bummer of a way to go out. He got the negative for pulling. It was against Luis Paulo, who obviously...
I saw that negative. He was complaining about it, and I told him, I'm like, Majid, if I was dead asleep on 2 minutes of sleep and I saw that, that's a negative all day, every day. He's like, damn it. So I explained to him, and I told him, I gave him a little bit of advice and explained everything. But again, that's what makes ADCC exciting, right? It caters to all styles. First half, there's no points. The submission hunters get to open the game without being in fear. But when you go to overtime, you're going to have to wrestle and stuff like that. So again, that's the beauty of ADCC. It forces you to work all aspects of your game.
Outside of ADCC rule set, I'm just curious, do you have another rule set that is like your kind of like your second, or like another rule set where you're like, I do kind of like what they're doing there?
I mean, listen, I watch all rule sets. Who's number one? I've watched ABI. I appreciate them all. I just personally think, in terms of mass appeal, the ADCC rule set translates really well. That's my opinion. Because you can see, they're going for hard takedowns and passes. You just see an intensity in these matches more. But I appreciate all styles. I think it's important. I think competitors should train all aspects. No submission only and everything. But I know I'm biased, but yeah. I do like ADCC rules at the best.
Yeah, I think the tie-in of wrestling that comes with ADCC, obviously, especially in overtime, it does kind of pull in like a new audience as well. Like a lot of, obviously we have FloGrappling and FloWrestling, so a lot of the wrestling guys, I feel like the thing that they're willing to talk with us the most about when it comes to grappling is ADCC, because it's like, they're always want to be like, oh yeah, but that guy's, his wrestling technique's getting better, but he needs to, so it kind of pulls in that new crowd, which is kind of fun, Yeah,
like and that's the issue for the wrestlers in sub only, right? For them, they're just like, all right, what am I going to do? This guy's just going to attack me nonstop. So, again, the ADCC style caters to all style. And if the smart athletes know how to cater the rules to their game. And, I've always told people, the athletes who understand the rules the best have a huge advantage. I always bring up Andre Galvao. Like, Galvao has the knowledge of an ADCC judge. I mean, next level. And he was so tactical, and he understood the rules. And you can see it in his students as well. So I tell these athletes all the time, you're going to train 3 months for this every day. Learn the rules, start to get strategic. If you just go in there trying to sub everyone, it's going to be hard to win, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is cool though, because like you're saying, there's kind of that dynamic to the rules where it's like the sub hunter gets his go, and then like the tactician gets their go. And like 2 examples of current ADCC champions: Baby Shark, a guy who knows the rules very well, an incredible tactician and strategist; Cade Ruotolo, a guy who will literally just go out there and just be like, nope, my reaction time is better than yours. I'm going to hit you with some crazy shit and get the win. So I guess right there's proofs in the pudding.
Cade's taking the Marcelo route. I always say, I don't think Marcelo ever knew the rules. I don't think he ever looked at the bracket. He's like, okay, I'm going to fight a guy 100 pounds heavier. Let's go. So you got to be really damn good to pull that off. But Baby Shark is one of the most tactical, and he did it so quickly. That thing he did to Pato last time in the finals, I'd never seen that before. And I thought it was one of the smartest strategies, refusing Pato to be able to pull a guard, which, everyone knows Pato's got one of the nastiest guards in the world. So he's very tactical. It's good to see and I think he's just exciting to see as well. He's so well-rounded. And yeah, and then you got guys like Cade who are just like, I'm just going to come and get 4 subs in the hardest division ever.
What about anybody else at Trials that stood out to you, Corey?
Yeah, one other best of the rest performance I kind of want to shout out. 3 submissions into the quarterfinals. René Sousa hit a gnarly Kimura trap into a knee bar, and then heel hook in the next round. Off of a buggy choke.
Yeah, I was gonna say he had one of his buggy choke back takes.
Right. Yeah, he went like, so the heel hook and then buggy choke back take to rear naked choke, which is just, every time I see it, and he's hit it twice now, you don't believe it's happening. And then that quarterfinal match, just wild against the Peruvian.
Dude, Renee, I mean, that's a good one. His skill level has just gone up. I'm like, what the hell happened to you, man? It's like, I thought you were just a buggy guy. He looked great. One of the judges came to me. He's like, someone had him like in a darce. He's like, I don't know what the hell he did. All of a sudden, he just rolls backwards and he's on the guy's back and then takes him out. So René looks phenomenal, and it's just it's exciting to see people working all aspects of their game. And he was telling me, he's like, that's what I'm training in the gym now. I'm not giving up position anymore, and I'm going on the offense. And I thought he looked phenomenal. He's very exciting, but huge.
He's spending a lot of time in the room with two-time ADCC champion JT Torres. So if you're looking for a place to go and dial in your strategy and your top game, that's the place, because Fion's training there now. Gabriel Sousa's training there now. That's a great place for ADCC hopefuls to be repping out their game.
I've trained with JT quite a bit, and I was telling René, if your technique isn't working, he's gonna let you know real quick, because that is not a guy you want in your guard. He'll punish you severely. So, but it seems to be working, and there's a lot of people training with JT. You got Gabriel Sousa, current ADCC champion Fionn Davies. You know who really stood out to me too? I got the name of the girl who won 65 plus. She was really young as
Maria
well.
Raffato.
Yeah,
Raffato.
She's a beast.
Holy crap! That finals, like, she comes out super aggressive. I'll be honest, I didn't know much about her, and she looked phenomenal.
I think she's kind of a girl who's gone under the radar, but I remember just like her run at brown belt, right? Like she was just beating up everybody at brown belt, kind of on the IBJJF circuit and stuff. It's where I kind of mostly caught wind of her. You know much more about Maria?
We didn't get to see a lot of it. She had 3 matches, 2 submissions, including that one in the final. But she has a gnarly Kimura. From her closed guard, she will just take an arm and rip behind your head.
What school? Do you know what school?
Brazilian top team.
Brazilian top team.
Okay, all right. That's where no wonder she's so aggressive.
Yeah. Well, one quick thing I want to add about René. René, you kind of mentioned this, how he's like not giving up position and stuff anymore. René seems like he's found this weird way to kind of mold or meld essential and 10th planet styles together, so he has like aspects of like that JT influence, but he still has some of that 10th planet creativity and just like weird positions, and like how you said, like he was like in a Dars and now he's on his back, and it's like, how the hell did that happen? It's like that's a little bit of that 10th planet in the mix now with like the JT influence as well, which is kind of a cool thing to watch.
Dude, he hit some gnarly takedowns. I mean, he hit one of the nastiest Uchimatas I've ever seen. They went crashing down. So I never seen René doing takedowns like that. So hats off to
René
him.
the wrestler.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously.
People sleep on René's wrestling because he is like the buggy choke guy, right? But he's I think a high school level wrestler, and from Lehigh Valley, which is a wrestling town.
You know what's interesting too? Brazil trials are so unique because it's the only trials where they're 1 week apart. So like, imagine everyone went to war this weekend. I'm like, all right, let's get ready. The pass is a pass, and I'm telling you, man, next week it's gonna be epic. A lot of big names are signing up for that one. So
yes, let's talk a little bit about that. You want to kind of like who are some of the names, I guess, that are standing out to you so far for next week in
I'm
trials?
very excited for Jonathan Gracie. I've trained with him before. I mean, a while back. He's a monster. He had a pretty big win over Nicky Ryan recently. I think he's going to be a serious threat. He's an amazing grappler. Patrick Gaudio is coming to compete.
That's crazy.
Super tough. That's going to be interesting in the minus 99 division. Pedro Mourinho, he's scheduled to come in the 88 kilogram division. So that's not someone I would want to face in 6 minutes in an ADCC match. And Ana Vieira, I saw signed up to come back. So she wants to come back and give it a shot.
Did you mention the Hokage?
That's right. Hokage, he couldn't come, so I love him. He's so exciting, and I think he won last night, right?
Yeah, he submitted. Who won?
Oh, he got a submission.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah. So I've trained with Hokage. I remember Hokage. He was on my team as well for Aiga. So let's see what he does. He had a crazy one last time in the trials. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he was all submissions last trials, right? Or no, he's like 8 of 9 or something because he lost to Diogo.
He won most of them I think he won almost every one of his matches by submission, and some wild stuff too. Like he threw up like reverse guard triangles and heel hooks from nowhere. Just he's a triangle machine. But his game has developed so much since the last time he won trials, when he was really a gi guy, kind of dipping his toe into no gi. Now he does a lot of no gi competing, and it shows.
Yeah, just the energy and stuff also that Fabricio brings makes things so exciting for me. Like, I think he won and then ran into the crowd and stuff on his last match. But like that's the stuff you can expect from Hokage. So like here in Brazil at trials, like, oh man, it's gonna be.
He's nuts. All right, I was with
legit
him for
crazy person.
He's crazy, but he's hilarious. He's great to have because he just gets everyone in the moment. So big fan of his. And let's see, he's gonna be going up, and I'm sure Kawhi signed up. So Felipe Machado.
Yep.
So let's see who's going to come out on top. It ain't going to be easy. Those trials next week are going to be they're going to be brutal.
Yeah, and then so obviously 88 now is going to have Pedro Mourinho, like you said, is supposed to come back, get in the mix there, and then I'm assuming Gabriel Almeida is going to come right back into it. So just those two dudes alone being in the bracket. How do you think? Can we talk about how you think those would seed out at all, or can you talk much about that?
Let's do it. Who cares?
Okay.
That's gonna be an interesting one. Oof, that's a hard one because Gabriel Almeida is a trials winner. Pedro is those are gonna be the top two seeds, I would say. All right, and then Porfirio just got a bronze. That's his third. Now he's got 3 bronzes in a row. So let's see. I know. I love that guy too. Great guy. He looked phenomenal as well. And damn, that's a tough one. Who's gonna be the 1 or 2 seed? But I'll figure that one out.
Yeah.
Those are going to be the top 2 seeds, I would say.
So we could expect them obviously to be on different sides. So potential finals if they make it through, but obviously that's a tough route.
Yeah, I'm sure Ozaki is going to come back. So you never know. I mean, it could be someone else's day, yesterday, but next week it could be someone else's day. So let's see what happens. That's what makes it exciting. And you got a lot of veterans coming in for this trials. I think Gaggio's going to be a tough one too for 6-minute matches as well. And he's got a lot of experience in ADCC, and he's a bull. Very physical style as well.
Definitely. Corey, anyone you got your eye on? Anything you excited for this upcoming trials?
Really excited to see how Jonathan Gracie looks in ADCC rules. He's so strong, right? I mean, everybody I've talked to about how strong Jonathan Gracie is says he's the strongest guy they've ever rolled with. Like just the grips, the top pressure. I mean, you can look at some of his performances and just see you can see the pressure, right? You can see how he melts guys.
I can vouch. Definitely one of the strongest people I've ever rolled with pound for pound. I mean, off the charts. And when he gets on top of you, he knows how to smother you. And he looks great, and I rolled with him in 2017, so I was barely doing it back then. And it looks like he's starting to do it more and more. So I think he's going to be a tough guy to beat at 77 personally.
Another weapon he has is the training room, right? He's in the training room with Andre Galvao, Kynan, and Cade and Ty, and a bunch of ADCC veterans who all know the rules exceptionally well, know how to push you to wrestle the right way, how to fight for the points, how to not give up the points. All of those things I think are skill sets for him coming into 77.
Can I also give props to Gustavo Batista?
I was about to say, I was going to bring him up.
I was so excited, man. And that's the thing, it's sort of cool because you're starting to see some of these traditional gi guys, starting to do no gi as well, and they're doing well. Tynan Dalbra, his last match looked phenomenal. Marigali, obviously, Tommy Langacker. So I was very excited to see Gustavo Batista in there. I think, he keeps going and makes those, adaptations. That's another guy I wouldn't want in my guard either. And we've seen what he does to people in the gi. So I think he's got Andre Galvao, Kynan. He's got the craziest training room in the world. So I was very excited to see him out there.
Yeah, Gustavo Batista he's one of those guys who people are like, oh, who knows? We've never seen him no-gi, all that. But it's like, man, that dude is just incredible at jiu-jitsu. Gi, no-gi, it doesn't matter. Gustavo Batista is going to go out there and be an absolute beast. So I assume he's another guy that could come down to Sao Paulo, and that 88 division just keeps getting more and more stacked. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me about Batista is we didn't see a lot of his guard, right? We saw him mostly playing for top and wrestling, and fine. He's got great guard passing, but if you look at his gi game traditionally, one of his favorite sweeps is that like reverse X setup into the leg locks. I'm really curious to see what his leg lock game looks like based off that sweep, that setup that he has.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
He just comes out, he just starts ripping, he looks at everybody. Yeah. Dude, you never know, man. I mean, like I said, like look at what Mary Golly did in that quick. He never, because I invited him. I remember I called him for 2019, but I didn't know who he was really, and I was like, hey, I'd like to invite. He's like, there's one problem. I'm like, what's that? It's like, not only do I not compete no gi, I don't even train it. I'm like, all right, shit. All right, see you next time. And then he comes for 2022. But Tommy, I mean, he looks great. Tainan, his last match against Taza. So I think it's really exciting to see these guys transition. And Gustavo Batista, I'm sure is going to do very, very well.
Do you think all these gi guys kind of switching over and starting no gi, trying to get into trials, trying to get into the world championship, obviously, do you think it's a testament to like the growth of ADCC? Like, what do you think it is that's pulling these guys over?
Yeah, I think there's, we're doing, listen, we're going to be in freaking Team Mobile Arena in August. Like, who else goes there in combat sport? The only other one is what? UFC? Mm-hmm. I haven't seen Bellator go there. I haven't seen, like, One Championship or these other shows. And the fact, like, a grappling show is going there, we're going to have 14,000 people there. So I think they're starting to see, like, that's probably the easiest way to get a spotlight on them. And guess what? They can train both. You can do both. You can train. You got Marigali who takes a match and then goes fights Victor Hugo in the gi 2 weeks later. So you can do both. And I think people are starting to see that, ADCC is getting a huge spotlight, and it's probably the fastest way to get, recognition in our sport right now.
Do you have kind of switching over to just talking a little bit about the 2024 ADCC World Championship? Do you have anything in particular you're excited for, excited to see at that World Championship, or are you still kind of letting everything fall into place, figuring out what all is going to be happening there?
As long as I organize, my only rule is I have to make it bigger and better every single time. Even trials, what was the capacity of that arena? That could have held worlds in there, you know?
100%.
It was huge, and we're doing that for a trial. So as long as I can keep pushing the envelope, I want to smash ADCC 2022 to pieces in every single aspect, and we're on track. I've hired a lot more people because I was talking to the team, this, for me, this is a hobby. I just love jiu-jitsu. I'm like, this is getting serious now. I need to get professional help for people to come and help me. So I'm telling you now, that event is going to be mind-boggling. The amount of stuff and new elements we're going to bring in, it's going to be an event no one ever forgets. 2022 was a big, challenge for us. 2019 we had 4,000 people. To go from 4 to 12 is a massive difference. So we got some experience under us, and I promise we're going to put on a show that's just going to crush in every single aspect, guaranteed.
I guess one thing I want to bring up, just because I was in the gym with this guy recently, and he was talking to me, is about Marigali. Marigali was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, I'm double golding this time. No doubt about it. I'm going to double gold. Whenever you hear a guy kind of talk like that, and I guess have the confidence Marigali does, it's hard not to be convinced by him. But do you get excited about that when athletes kind of bring that kind of bravado and confidence to the tournament?
It's funny because I get asked this a lot, about Gordon and stuff like that. My only thing is just as long as people are authentic,
Yeah.
Like Marcelo Garcia, I always bring him up. One of the biggest legends of our sport, hands down. I can't remember a single interview he ever did. So Buchecha's not very a big talker. So, you get guys like Gordon. My only thing is if you're going to talk a big game, back it up. And Marigali's doing it. He is taking hard matches. He's not playing it safe and just talking a big game. So, I've been in the training room at New Wave many, many times. He is a monster. Obviously people know how good he is, but I've rolled with him a few times. It was brutal. He's really good. And imagine what he did. Dude, he gets silver medal in the absolute, bronze in his division, and now he's got 2 years to prepare. So in my eyes, if you want my opinion for the absolute divisions, who are going to be the top contenders, Nicky Rod and Marigali. Those are the two I would say are going to be some serious. Nicky Rod looks phenomenal.
He does, yeah.
He was obviously always very good, but he's gotten a lot better as well. So I'd say those are the two to watch out for.
Very nice.
There's many other competitors too, but you know what I mean. Of course,
yeah. Too many to name. Sometimes people get caught up. It's bro, we can't.
Someone's going to get mad at me. How dare you, Mo, not forget my name? But
yeah.
I'd say those two, their confidence is through the roof, and they look really, really good.
Corey, what do you think? You've been thinking about the World Championship at all?
Oh, nonstop. And I just as every time the trials are over and we fill out the sheet, who's in these divisions. We mentioned this last time, but especially now, okay, look at what 77 looks like. Just without talking about Cade and Mika and all the invitations, that's a stacked division of people that maybe you didn't hear. Of course, Tommy's in there, and the list of trials winners in there, but that's happening now at every division. Any single one of these divisions, before you talk about who gets invited, who's coming back, it's what's going. The level of this thing, the level of competition is just so high already.
Let's be honest here. If you look at ADCC in the past, generally speaking, maybe the first, even second round, it's going to be tough, but it's not now. First round is every match is almost like a super fight. So there is no easy matches. Look at Cade. Who did he go against first round last
Lachlan.
time? Oh, yeah, Lachlan, Roberto Jimenez.
Yep. PJ,
and
Mika.
Mika. And with all submissions. So, traditionally speaking, the older ADCCs, it would start to get really hard in the semifinals and stuff like that. Now it's just all across the board. It's just everyone's so talented.
Yeah, going back to 2022 first round matchups, we had Colabate versus Fabricio Andre first round. That is insane, dude. That's one of the best matches you could make. But even just like I guess sticking on 77, talking about 77, already in that bracket, who do we have? We have Joseph, Tommy, Kenta,
Luis Paulo,
JT, Nicky Ryan.
Like if you just ran that bracket, it's like this.
I mean, these haven't been announced, but I'm sure I'll get approved. But like, Cade will be back, Mika, Dante, who's looked awesome, and PJ as well. So traditionally, we invite the previous top 4. So I'm ready to put that show on right now. I'd watch 100%. That any day of the week. So I promise those divisions are going to be stacked to the gills. And you're right. The other divisions have gotten a lot more competitive, especially in the trials. The one division I've seen huge is the 88 kilogram division.
Absolutely.
Traditionally speaking, it used to be 66, 77, and then it sort of fall off. The 88, in my eyes, I thought 88 was the most stacked division this tournament. 66 as well, but I'd say 88 had a lot of big names and tough competitors.
There are 2 ADCC trials winners right now at 88 that have 100% submission runs.
Yeah, the only division with 2 all submissions, Jacob Couch and Taylor Pearman, both went all submissions. Yep, at the European second European.
Couch had, was it 7 or 8 submissions?
7. Yeah.
Unbelievable! What a terror! And imagine what West Coast trials will be, and that's going to be this month because I'm sure you're going to see Tackett. I'm sure you're going to see Elder, J-Rod, and if Roberto is on the rumor might go and do that, it's going to be, imagine that semifinal.
Yeah, last year West Coast Trials is kind of like the J-Rod coming out party, where he went all submissions. So I think there is something true there about 88 being like this super hot division right now for sure. So is there anyone? Have you guys looked at the 88 registrations yet? Have you had a chance, or you still just been focused on South American? Do we know much about that one yet?
I mean, I'm positive William Tackett, Elder will be there. I haven't really checked it, to be honest, but the registrations are flying right now. 77 filled up like 2 weeks ago. 256 competitors.
That's so crazy.
I've never seen that before. People are like, wait, are you serious? I'm like, go check. It's gone. So, West Coast Trials will be the last chance for the North American, which is the biggest trials by far. So I'm sure that's going to be stacked to gills. So March has been an awesome month for jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, definitely. And so I also know, kind of wrapping up here, but a couple more questions. I know you toured T-Mobile Arena recently. How was that? What was it like in there? What was the overall impression of T-Mobile?
I'll tell you a true story. So the first time I went to T-Mobile was 2017, I believe. I went to the Conor McGregor Mayweather fight. I walked in, I was like, holy crap. So we just went there recently, and I promised you in 2017, I was like, one day I'll do an event here. So it took me 7 years, but we got it there. I'm telling you now, when people walk into that arena, they're just going to be like, holy crap. It's a different level in all aspects. The technology they have, the seats, everything. We're going to have the Jumbotron this time.
Wow.
And I'm going to call it now. This is what I'm trying to get done, which I think would be a lot of fun. I'm trying to get it so we can do a 10-second countdown to points for the matches. So imagine you have a stadium with like 14,000 people saying 5, 4, and just screaming points. So I just want to do fun stuff, make it exciting. But that stadium is the nicest stadium I've ever been to. And, grappling is going to finally have an event there.
That's such a great fan engagement idea, as honestly, like that's like Royal Rumble, whenever the Royal Rumble is, so who's the next contestant, and then you get the countdown, everyone starts going. So that is going to be incredible. Everyone,
I got another crazy idea I'm working. So I spoke to MGM, and they've approved the preliminary to go from the MGM, which is the official hotel, from MGM to T-Mobile is walking distance, and they have a bridge. There's no stoplight. So what I'm trying to do is a meet and greet, get as many ADCC fans to meet at the MGM. I got to organize it, and we just march to T-Mobile Arena together. So I just want to make it fun. You saw last time with the audience when they'd get do the wave, or they'd bring their phones out. So that's all it's about, is just making grappling exciting because my thing is, I don't want to just cater to grappling fans. We got them already. Obviously, I got to keep them happy. I want to pull people into the sport. And the best feedback I've ever had in the last 2 championships is I get people who come to me and say, I don't know anything about the sport, and I had a great time. So if we can do that, we're on the right track.
For sure. Is there something you wanted to add, Corey?
Just back to the kind of the points thing real quick. That was one of the fun things that happened at East Coast Trials, where I realized kind of like the fans are really in on this. Is during the finals, the ref would start counting down, and the whole crowd all together would yell points. It's just a little thing that you feel like, all right, the crowd is into this.
That's where I got the idea from, by the way.
Really?
What happened was one of the judges or someone, the ref, yells points, and then all of a sudden, like 2 or 3 other people did it, and then it just kept growing.
It would
growing.
it would popcorn around. He'd be like points, and then you just hear it all over the crowd. So that was a great moment.
And I want to do what we did for East Coast. We did it yesterday. So I like to surround the mats for the finals. I think it creates an exciting environment because that relationship between the spectators and the athletes is really important, right? The louder the spectators are, it encourages the athletes, and they're going to put on better performances, and they excite the audience as well. So I thought that was pretty cool when, like, Jacob Couch, when he ran around just high-fiving
that was epic.
a couple hundred people, was just epic. So thank you, East Coast Trials. I got all my ideas from you.
There you go. Well, is there anything else? Anything else you want to say? You got any insider stuff you could drop for us here? Any breaking news, or you don't have
You
to?
want me to drop an invite that's been unannounced?
I mean, that would be epic if you want to. And you don't have to. No pressure if it's gonna.
All right, I'll give you a name. All right.
All right.
It's been unannounced. Victor Hugo will
There we
be
go.
in 99 plus.
Nice,
okay?
confirmed.
I'll give you another one.
All right.
Ty Rotolo.
Boom,
Hey,
Tyro
hey,
Tolo.
okay.
Hey, it's not ADCC unless the Roots are in there mixing it up.
Yeah, and guess what? That's one thing I respect about Ty, because if he hadn't done that absolute run, he might not have. It's still a big name, but that helped a lot. Like, he went on a crazy. He didn't let that loss in the division affect him. He just came back and went on one of the craziest absolute runs ever. Taking up Pena and Pedro Marino, which is insane.
And then had the absolute war with Mergali in the semis, rather, right?
Yeah, that was incredible. I think one thing that's so cool about the Ruotolo brothers, honestly, is like that match obviously happened with Hinger. Ty loses, and then he's immediately in the chair coaching Cade to a win over Lachlan. It's like those dudes are like just so authentically like great brothers. Their family's great. It's like weird because they're kind of their best friends and their worst enemies. Like no one fights with each other harder than the Ruotolo brothers. But obviously, Ty couldn't let Cade have all the fun, so he had to come back in the absolute and make a pretty historic run, to be honest.
And there's some of the most exciting guys in the sport. So I'm very excited to get both of them back. I thought Ty did great, and I'm sure he's going to come back with a vengeance. I know those boys well. Like, one thing you see, like you saw in 2019, they lost in the trials, both of them, I believe. And, I believe they got like leg locked, and now look at them. They've just skyrocketed to like elite level.
Have you ever heard the story of how I think it was Ty found out he got invited by you? Mama Roots has told us this story a couple times where I think he snuck out. I'm probably gonna mistell the story, but like if you get her to tell you sometime, but I'm pretty sure he like snuck out and was like at a party or something, and then like you called Mama Roots or somehow one of them found out, and she's like trying to tell him and all this stuff, and like she finally gets a hold of him, and he's like, what? I'm in, like trying to, figure it out. And then he like figures it out and he like just yells to the whole party that he got invited to ADCC and just goes off. So
I mean, he was excited. He did 66 right in 2019, man.
Yeah.
And he did amazing. So it goes from 66 to 88. And I think he's going to be a serious problem at 88. I mean, always has been, but I think he's going to come back with a point to prove.
for sure.
One thing about Ty, real quick, because I feel like Cade always gets all the shine for being the youngest ever champion. Ty is the youngest ever absolute medalist. Because the same age as Cade.
Yeah.
He took absolute bronze in 2022, youngest ever. Not a lot of people know that. I think it sometimes gets overshadowed by Cade's legendary performance. But yeah, that was a big deal for Ty to take bronze.
Well, there we go. We got a little insider scoop there.
And Ty's also given me the worst ass whipping I've ever had in jiu-jitsu.
Really?
The last time I rolled with him, I'm not exaggerating. I think he dorsed me 30 times.
Wow.
And the disrespect because he dorsed me off my money sweep. So Ty,
Oh man.
I'm coming for you.
I can't even believe you got the invite.
I know. I had to be professional, all right. But no, those kids are phenomenal. I love those guys, and I'm very proud to see where they've gone. Cade just did a gi match, and that's what I like. People who don't like try to play it safe. They just want to go out there, and I remember Ty came to me at ADCC 2020. He's like, "You got to get me in the absolute." He was like adamant about it. He's like, "I'll do anything, just get me in there." I'm like, "That's what I want to see." That's what ADCC is about. It's about pushing yourself, getting yourself out of the comfort zone. And I always tell people, my two bosses in ADCC, that's what they want. They will always ask, "Did they do absolute?" And they want to see people who push themselves, just like the legends, like Marcelo Garcia and the Rotolas. They definitely don't play it safe. They want to go out there against anybody.
Yeah, and Victor Hugo also, like you mentioned him, he got the invite as well, or is going to get an invite. Victor Hugo's been super hot lately. He looked incredible. He had a WNO match with Nicky Rod, where I mean, he looks so good, so impressive. So I guess he'll be alongside Felipe Costa now at the World Championship. So that'll be really cool.
I just thought about that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because that affects the bracket as well. But yeah, Victor's phenomenal. He was the only guy Gordon couldn't submit last time.
Mhm.
He's huge. He's super technical. Nasty close guard. You know, got a big win over Nicky Rod. So who knows? They might face each other in ADCC rules. So let's see how that goes.
Well, have you ever rolled with Victor?
No, and I don't want to.
It's honestly, and I say this all the time. I've gotten a couple chances to roll with him. He rolls like the smallest person. Like
Yes, nicest, easiest
but-
little guy roll.
and not just because he's gentle on I'm 100 pounds lighter than him, right? And he's always taking it easy on me, but also like the barambolos and just like the bullshit small guy jujitsu he hits is incredible.
He's all right. No, I would love to roll with him. I never have. Okay, so as long as it's not going to break me in half, so I'll take. Now, if I get injured, I'm coming after you. So no, but he's got such a technical, smooth game. He's just a great guy. So I'm very happy that I was able to get him back in. I think he deserves it, and he's going to be a tough guy to deal with in ADCC for sure.
All right, well, there we go, Mo. Appreciate you letting us come over, talk to you a little bit. Appreciate giving us a little bit of that insider info and stuff. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
I just want to say, thank you guys. Thank you to Flo for the support. I know I wouldn't be able to do it without you guys. And I think, like I said, I've been following the sport for 24 years. I have never, ever been this optimistic for the sport overall. All events are doing well. It's growing. And I promise in August, we will deliver an event that's going to help all of jiu-jitsu and the entire sport. And I think we're getting there. We're slowly getting to the point where, we're getting closer and closer to the mainstream. So very exciting times.
All right, make sure you guys tune in Saturday, March 9th. The second South American trials will be going down. It's going to be action-packed, stacked divisions. You won't want to miss it. Later in the month, we got West Coast trials. That one's already, divisions are filling up, going to be crazy. And then in August, ADCC World Championship. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.